Hi, I'm Maxwell Tucker and I'm going to teach you how to reverse sear a steak. This is a kind of a flip on the classic restaurant method, which is to sear and then put it in the oven. Here we put it in the oven and then sear it. So we want to use a nice thick cut of steak. I went for a T-bone. What you're going to want to do is let this rest out of the refrigerator for a little bit, and then you're going to want to kind of liberally salt your steak, and I like to put it in my hands first and rub the salt in on both sides. And we're doing this to help season the steak and as well as keep some of the moisture in it when we cook it. And it might look like a lot of salt, but most of it gets cooked away in the searing process. And then we're going to finish it up with a little bit of pepper. Same thing, don't really need as much as you would with the salt. And this is the only seasoning that we're going to do the entire time. The next thing you want to do is line a baking sheet with tin foil and then put your steak on there. I've preheated the oven to 275 degrees, and this steak will need to go in there for about 30 to 45 minutes or until it reaches a temperature of 135 degrees. Next, we're going to want to remove the steak from the oven and let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes. And we're going to want to do that on a clean butcher block or cutting tray, and then we're going to cover it up with a tint of aluminum foil just so it retains some of its heat. Alright, so you want to get your pan really hot right before you do this because we're just doing a sear. We're not actually trying to cook the meat very much. So I put some high temperature oil, just vegetable oil in a pan, and I got it really hot. So what we're going to do is place the steak in here away from us and sear it on each side for about a minute. I'm going to turn on the fan so we don't smoke up the kitchen. And it's going to get a little bit, we're going to get some oil splatter, but that's okay. We're just really trying to get a nice sear on both sides. So the reason that I like to do this method is it is less time sensitive than doing it the other way. You could easily burn your steak if you sear it and then you put it in the oven. And versus a normal sear, I like a medium rare, so that works really well with this method where if you like your steak a little bit rare, you might want to just sear it on there and not use the oven. So we're getting close to about a minute here, and I'm about to flip the steak over. Let's see, we got a nice sear going there. So now that it's cooked for about a minute on each side, we're going to want to put some butter in here, and we're going to melt down the butter, and then we're going to take it off the heat, and we're going to want to butter baste it. So basically all you're doing here is you're just scooping butter from your little reservoir here, and you're just basting it right over the top of the steak. And this just adds more flavor and helps cook the steak just a little bit more. And we're just going to do this until all the butter is melted. And this is a common method that is done at the best steakhouses. They're always butter basting their steak. And you might think that this adds a lot of fat and calories, but most of it runs right off. It just leaves a little bit for flavor. The real upside to this method is once you're done, you don't have to let it rest and get all cold because we already rested it earlier. So now you can just cut right into the steak, and hopefully if we did everything right, you should have a nice medium, and I think we did.